about what population health management has got to offer the NHS within an accountable context. And we'll kind of pan back out to that in a minute. What I've kind of read is that governments both here in the UK and abroad find it difficult, together with commissioners in various forms and health delivery services, to reconcile the conflicting challenges of demand, the logistics of delivery in the most cost-effective and sustainable way. As relations in the world is changing, various countries realised that we needed to have much closer alignment between understanding what people's needs are, how they're utilising resources, connecting with what really makes a difference, and then making sure that the people who are involved in all those key areas have sight of how resources are being utilised and can make changes in order to increase efficiency and effectiveness, as well as drive up quality. And that in itself helps to deliver greater sustainability. And for us here in the UK, getting to a sustainable NHS and maintaining that is vital, given we hold that so dear. One of the ways that you can bridge that disconnect and close the gap between the ask and delivery is through applying the principles of what's come to be known as population health management, which it's all about alignment of metrics, incentives, intervention that influence decision making at different levels, and most importantly, I think you'll see later on that it is also about empowering patients and clinicians at the front line, because you will get smarter decisions that have better impact. And the areas where it's been implemented, they have documented reduced hospital admissions, decreased cost of care, sort of stays, improved quality of life, and better outcomes. I think it's still difficult to be sure that all accountable care and population health management models work, and there are many that we need to see more evidence, keep working on the studies to really understand which of those models works the best, and how to adapt it for your local situation. One of the biggest challenges I think remaining is to ensure that you can implement this model successfully at scale. Not everybody, perhaps myself included until quite recently, may be aware that the accountable care organisations in the United States are not always very large. Some of them are working with populations that are really quite small. I mean, sometimes between 5 and 50,000, whereas our CCG, some of the EPs that we're working with and the accountable care platforms or footprints are larger than that. Really, for financial resilience, we need to try and develop a model that can work at a much bigger scale. So county level, which is usually 400 to 600,000, and budgets of $1 billion, maybe more. And so I think that's a further challenge for adaptability. Move on to the slide then, Amelia. Go a little bit deeper into population health management, defining your population, and then grouping those into sort of optimal cohorts, for want of a way of putting it, is part of what this approach involves, and then understanding their needs a really quite detailed and integrated way, overseeing the delivery of their health care, being accountable for the total cost, and working on that efficiency and sustainability piece, because it is very much on keeping people healthy. So wellness programs, behaviour supporting people's conditions before they're and helping people to manage their conditions successfully. From help aren't accessing or seeking care. It is really person-centered. Some of the diagrams and kind of material that's available in America really focus on patients, but here and increasingly there too, it's about citizens, it's about people who may or may not be patients now or in the future. So important to include everybody. And a lot about the kind of management of clinical and financial risk across your population and the budgets that involves. But it is important to find ways to work with that resource allocation, think of ways to find incentives, create the right incentives. As I'm sure many of us know, our system at the moment is quite flawed. It has many perverse incentives that drive organisations and care in the wrong way. This is all about understanding how to boost patient satisfaction, the clinical outcomes, and resource management and cost efficiency by aligning those things through the whole system. Slide. Some people may be familiar with the term value-based payment. We have a kind of fee for item, fee for service system, cost per case, the tariff, and indeed primary care contracts to a degree are still in that bracket. Foundation Health Management and Accountable Care does is take that to increasing questions of value-based payment. It's about the outcomes that you achieve rather than just the inputs and the activities that you undertake. And what the approach can help do is that it helps providers to learn to identify high-risk patients, adverse events through quite hence mining of really good data and more data and information, and making that available to a broad range of people who can then work with it in a way that some of the people who currently receive information, aren't able to. Commissioners and providers gain better visibility into effective care delivery. I've talked a little bit about that, but just understanding what works and what doesn't. And to people, be they in America, obviously they're consumers because they've got insurance or they pay or etc. But anybody to understand and make better healthcare choices, having better information that's more accessible, easier to with, more relevant to them, and a little bit about patient care models motivation, builds confidence to take more responsibility, to have a bigger say in what's going on, and to express satisfaction, and by participating more actively in the process, secure more satisfaction. As I've said, it's about moving from diseases and activities and events, admissions, to your person-centric need. I've said a bit about that, I won't dwell on that further. And to drive the focus of the care network towards primary and community care rather than we are, although we have got developed elements of each area of care, where there's too much reliance upon secondary and tertiary and acute care, and that is part of our problem. Next slide. Oops. It is something that I hooked up really to help us understand how positioning will change and how provision will change, and how how we hope the sort of experience of care will change under these new approaches. And in the left-hand side, what is I've identified the things that strategic commissioning will still need to do, regardless of whether we had an all singing, all dancing accountable care organisation covering, the whole of Hampshire or not. And it's an organisation or a system, one model, things on the left will need to happen. You need to understand your population health needs at strategic level. You need to be able to work with that information to set priorities. You need to, as strategic commissioner, set the outcomes that you want to achieve. I believe in the UK, certainly at the beginning, the resource allocation budget or fund setting will stay within strategic commissioning for quite some time, and that is why the sort of population segmentation and further work to develop setting of potato budgets is so important. If we're going to bring new organisations in to operate the accountable care system, there has to be some primary procurement. There has to be a process for positioning that commissioning process, and then the procurement itself. And whilst outcomes are important, will still need to be care process and other quality measures. And so setting those minimum standards are going to be important functions. I think strategic commissioning from CCG commissioners and as England are going to have a successful oversight process to monitor and evaluate, and also because we're thinking of setting much longer term contracts, understand the triggers for concern in terms of if things aren't working, something spiraling out of control, and to receive that information as a kind of system watchdog, if you like, and muster remedial responses to support and even to recognise that something has failed and to fall back and move on again. Market is quite. Sometimes I think that the market needs a lot of development, and in other moments I think that the market is just very fragmented. And if you remember when CCUs first came into being, I think there were 22, and now there are only 5. And so I think that we'll probably see a market that looks quite fragmented and needs to be developed and stimulated, and will settle and consolidate over quite a short period of time. And strategic commissioning, because sometimes you need to commission on very large population bases for best effect. All ACSs and PHM systems are still going to have to work together. So that's a kind of a informed by the King's Fund, but finessed from other sources, set of strategic commissioning objectives that are still going to have to be carried out regardless of organisational form and function. And moving inside to the next box, 4 areas are kind of recognised areas of accountable care and population health management delivery. So you need to have the right kind of care management infrastructure to support the kind of approach that you want to see put in place. Primary care focused and resourced clinical network, which is beyond the immediate GP and prime care, using new models of care and new arrangements, really important along your care model. And then the quality of data, richness of data, moving from health to health and social care, and eventually to sort of wider determinants, wider public information. So, for instance, things like information about in wider communities, about housing, about the built environment, about criminal justice, about education, all about deprivation, economics. All these things need to be integrated and used in a much more proactive and intense way. Population engagement strategy is, again, I think we use these terms and we have all possible worked engagement, but what we're talking about is something that's much more targeted. It's much more intense. It goes up to the next level, and we'll need to kind of learn what this language, or some of its language, what that what that is in its redefined terms. Then the box to the right is the kinds of things that citizens and patients might experience. So health and wellbeing programs, stay healthy. If you've got risk factors, um, be a person with risk factors that would benefit from a health coach. If you've got conditions, care navigators might help you navigate around the system to best effect, stay engaged, stay involved to achieve your goals that you with the people that are sort of set to help you, but do that in the most efficient new technology and new ways of making those things happen. Perhaps thinking about daily lives, about the way we shop, the way we interact with other parts of our world, bringing some of that into our experience, which will be a change. We talk about integrated care teams and some of the services. I guess the big deal about these teams and the accountable care and population health approach is not providing them with much better information, allows them to take decisions about how to utilize resources, and also information that enables them, together with patients, to make decisions clinically informed by data and information. And some of that, being quite innovative, artificial intelligence, rather than just online guidelines, etc., and so on. And it's all about getting stuff on your phone, on your app, your Fitbit, personal targeted information, help you with your care monitoring.